for joining us on another episode of City Pulse and Housing TV Africa. City Pulse is a program brought to you by the Nigerian Institute of Town Planners, a town planning association recognized in Nigeria and globally. I am Phoebe Onwabuije, your host for today. And on today's program, we'll be discussing climate change and its impact on urban development, rethinking city building for resilience. As usual, I will not be discussing the topic alone. I have with me in the studio today the second vice president of the Nigerian Institute of Town Planners, in person of town planner Professor Kingsley Ogboi. You're welcome.
It's a pleasure.
So we'll be discussing on the topic right after this break. Please stay with us.
Join us on a captivating experience through the dynamic world of town planning in Nigeria as we delve into the visionary projects and insights of top experts, witnessing the remarkable transformation of spaces into extraordinary communities. Immerse yourself in engaging discussions with leading town planning professionals as you address critical issues and offer innovative solutions to empower communities. Experience the pulse of the cities of tomorrow on City Pulse, a weekly television program presented by the National Institute of Town Planners. Gain exclusive behind-the-scenes looks and discover groundbreaking strategies shaping the urban landscape. Don't miss a beat. Showing weekly on Housing TV Africa. Star Times Channel 149.
Welcome back. In case you're just joining in, this is City Pulse on Housing TV Africa, and we are discussing climate change and its impact on urban development, rethinking city building for resilience. I have just beside me the second vice president of the NITP, in person of town planner Professor Kingsley Ogboi, and we will be discussing the topic together. Now, you're welcome, sir. To begin, let's, in a layman's word, what exactly is climate change?
Well, to a layman, climate change is a variation or change in the climatic condition of an area or a region over time. There are climatic elements, and those elements pass through some changes from time to time, and that has implication on the general environment. So we were told in elementary geography that the climatic condition changes after 35 years. But in recent time, the change of the climate is becoming more frequent, and that has become an issue of concern to the global community.
Okay. And what is the reason for that? Why this sudden change?
Well, there are some factors that are responsible for that. Basically, you can classify that into two. There are natural factors arising from the natural processes of the earth. Then the second category we classify as anthropogenic factors.
Okay.
These are man-made factors that are occurring as a result of the activities of man on the environment. And this comes in form of development and our desire and urge for changes within the environment, trying to, in the process of consuming the land, or what we call the natural resources around us.
Okay, so what do you think we can actually do to, do we reduce the activities that we do, or what exactly can we do to, either reduce the space at which it is changing?
Okay, let me come in this way. In the first place, the natural factors, we have limited control over the natural factors. But for the anthropogenic factors, which are the factors arising from human activities, that we can control. And these come in various ways. A number of activities like, deforestation, we take for example, through agriculture, through urban development, through construction of road, through mining. And these are activities that we carry out, that are carried out by individuals, communities, almost on daily basis.
Yes.
And we do not know the implication of this on the environment. So, human population is also increasing
By
on
the
daily
day.
basis.
Yeah.
Then technological advancement is also another issue. That in the process of technological development, curiosity, we try to venture into certain things that we, at the end of the day, may not know the implications of this on the environment where we are staying.
Okay. These things, most of these activities that we do are important things that we can't actually do without. So now, most people do not know that these things that they are doing are actually causing harm to the society.
Yeah.
What steps can we take?
Yeah, like you said, many people do not know that these activities affect the environment. Actions can be taken at different levels.
Okay.
At individual level, at household level, at community level, even at the government level and international level.
Okay.
So I start with the household level as an individual. So there are some of these activities that you carry out. There could be alternative ways of dealing with these things. I take, for example, if we are into harvesting our forest resources,
Okay.
that can be reduced. And when the forest resources are depleted, it serves as carbon sink. And when the vegetation is not there, so there's actually nothing to absorb the carbon dioxide that is now ejected, the carbon that is now emitted from the activities we are talking about. Now, let's look at the transportation sector. I take, for example, our individual homes.
Okay.
Many of us go for these generators. And the more you buy a generator, the more you burn fuel through this generator, you find out that you are generating, you are not emitting
the smoke and everything.
smokes and carbon. So through that process, we can, through the process of minimizing the consumption and generation of electricity through this process, then we can reduce carbon. Then let's now come down to the society generally. The government has a role to play in providing some basic facilities and services like alternative fuel.
Okay.
Because poor households depend on firewood.
Yes.
And as long as they depend on firewood on daily basis, that has implication on the forest.
Yes,
because they harvest
have to
this.
fell more trees. And all
Yes,
of
harvest this for wood. Then even the furniture that we use, some of them are gotten from wood. So if we begin to look at that from that angle, we can develop technologies that will give us alternative to these items that we mentioned.
Okay.
Then at the global level, there are, or even at the national level, countries are involved in industrial development using nuclear facilities and so on and so forth. So, what do you call it? The COP that usually holds at the international level look towards reducing the impact of climate change on the world generally. So these are the things they have been telling us that countries should minimize or more or less reduce the rate at which they generate carbon. So there have been this controversy between the developed countries and the developing countries.
Yeah.
For the developed countries, they have exceeded what ordinarily should have been their own portion of carbon generation.
Okay.
So The issue now is let us come together and look at how we are going to solve this problem. And those that are into those countries that are advanced, technologically advanced, are not ready presently to minimize or cut down the rate at which they generate carbon. Now, that led to the issue of carbon trade.
Okay.
And even at that, it still does not provide the solution. In as much as we believe that climate change will continue. And again, one of the ways is to adapt to climate change. So the concept of climate change adaptation is also what we are looking at. That we cannot stop the change, but we can adapt our activities to these changes.
To curb it to some certain level.
To reduce it.
Okay, we saw recently that the Lagos State government, they began the use of the Red Line Rail, which has been constructed for over 7 months. Do you think that will, in a way, reduce the amount of carbon that has been produced by transportation?
Yeah, that is a very beautiful thing.
Okay.
You know, developed countries for long distance journeys, even urban metro rail lines are used, and that minimizes the number of cars on the road. But now come down to Nigeria. Look at our highways. The implication is not only on the climate, it has also implication on the infrastructure themselves,
okay,
including the roads that are being constructed.
Okay.
Nigerian roads do not last because of the number of trucks, you know, with heavy loads on it, and apply this road on a daily basis. You can imagine number of trailers, trucks, what do you call it, tankers, that come into Abuja on a daily basis.
On a daily basis.
Bringing and conveying in and out.
Both from the Enugu Road and from the this other state.
Yes, if you go to Edo State now, you see the situation there. The roads are bad. You take through Enugu Road, the same problem. So if the railway line is functional, at the time Nigeria has a 25 years plan for railway line. I think that was 2015, if I'm correct.
Okay.
And part of it is to improve on our railway system, revitalize the railway lines, the one running from Port Harcourt through Jos to Maiduguri and connecting Damaturu. That was working in the 70s and in the 80s and was used to convey goods from Port Harcourt via Aba, Enugu, Makurdi down to the north up to Maiduguri. Then you go the other way around. It also takes you from Lagos through Ibadan, then down to the northern part of the country up to Kano. Okay. But today these railways are not working.
They're not working.
Now the only one I am sure that is functional is between Warri and Itakpe.
Okay.
You know, and it doesn't get to. That is just one. I think the phase 1 of it. The second phase was to take it to Abuja, but up to now it's not working.
It's not working.
Then the Kaduna, I think that Abuja Kaduna Railway. I think that one coming from Itakpe is supposed to join that one. That will not take you to Kaduna, perhaps up to Katsina and Kano.
Okay.
But I don't want to say whether there's no political will on the part of government to continue it, or there are some other factors behind that. So, but the use of railway in Nigeria will go a long way to solve our problem. It will reduce the number of vehicles on the road. It will reduce the carbon emission from the transportation system, because transportation and industry are the two major activities, human activities or facilities that contribute to climate change across every country.
Okay, sir. I would also say that the economy also is also contributing to climate change, because you talked about the use of firewood and all of that emits smoke and more carbon into the ecosystem. But now when you look at the price of cooking gas, which has risen to 1,500 naira per kg, what exactly would you advise people who cannot afford this cooking gas to do?
Well, my advice would rather go to the government to see how that issue can be managed and reduce the cost of cooking gas, so that many persons who fall within or below the poverty level can find themselves being able to, afford the cooking gas which they use daily. Because as long as this is being affected, some people talk about other alternatives like what do you call it? Use of sawdust.
Okay.
Sawdust is also from wood.
Yes, it will still
So,
bring out the same
yes,
results.
so or maybe animal, what do you call it? Cattle dumps and all that. So, but these things are not. Some of them are not even healthy. That is another thing we also look at. It also affect human health. So if you look at it from that angle, and so we should look at it from the angle that government has a very important, very critical role to play in ensuring that there's adequate supply of cooking gas, domestic gas.
Okay, sir.
But to the point, to the bringing it down to the price that can be afforded by individuals and households.
Okay. We'll be going on a short break now, and when we return, we'll continue the discussion and we'll tilt towards rethinking city building for resilience, even in the face of climate change. Please stay with us.
Visit Housing TV Africa on YouTube and click on the subscribe button. Subscribe to Housing TV Africa to stay updated on latest happenings in Nigeria's housing sector. Follow our social media pages, like and share our posts on Facebook, Housing TV Africa, on Twitter, Housing TV Africa, Instagram, Housing TV Africa. Join the conversation and keep up with latest housing updates.
Welcome back to the program City Pulse on Housing TV Africa. We're discussing climate change and its impact on urban planning, rethinking city building, and resilience. I've been in the studio with town planner Professor Kingsley, and we have been discussing on this very important topic. We are moving on now to how we can actually build, a resilient city, even in the face of climate change. We know that the situation is getting really bad, but how can we ensure that citizens are not being affected? And what role does the Town Planning Committee, that is the NITP, what role do they play in achieving this?
Yeah, NITP is an NGO, is an organization of town planners, and we are involved in advocacy, enlightenment, and training. Both the professionals themselves who are town planners and the allied professionals, as well as the general public. So part of what we do is to educate people on issues that relate to urban affairs. So coming down to the issue of climate change, the NITP has organized a number of activities in the past, in dealing with this issue of climate change, both in reaching out to the general public and educating and retraining their own professionals within the system. Planners have very important role to play. We are seen as the developers of the cities. We design the cities. We should be able to determine what a city should look like.
Okay.
Through our design, through our development control. Development control in the sense that we give approval, more or less grant development permit for any developer who wants to put up a building. So, and the expectation is that every of our cities should have a plan, a framework that will guide what happens in that time. Then that helps us to organize the land uses. But unfortunately, most of our cities do not have this instrument that we call master plan.
Okay.
And it is very difficult actually to effectively monitor the development and manage development in the cities if you don't have an urban master plan. That I can attribute to government's lack of willingness and because preparing a master plan is purely an affair of the government.
Okay.
It is not for the town planners to sponsor because it's capital intensive. Then we have town planners who work in government agencies that are directly responsible for development control and physical planning. So government should provide them with this instrument, this what do you call it, the framework, provide them with a plan with which they are going to work with. Most of our Nigerian cities, either they never had any master plan, or even the one that is prepared is
abandoned.
either abandoned or
Okay.
outdated and not reviewed.
Okay.
Then in some other cases, these master plans are awarded as contracts to foreign companies that do not understand how the system works here.
Okay.
And when they produce this plan, the people who are supposed to implement the plan are not part of the production of the plan. So the one who produced it, after producing, drops the document. Then he goes back to his country. Then the one to implement do not even know where it started, how it was framed, what
And what
concept
to
was
do.
adopted. So it will take him time to even understand it. And when you bring that plan and try to place it on reality, what is on the ground, you find out that it's a different thing.
Yeah,
altogether.
it's not possible.
So preparing such a plan, you must bring in the people that the plan is meant for, the people that are going to implement it, and relative to the activities that operate within that environment.
Okay.
A master plan for India may not work for Nigeria.
For Nigeria.
A master plan for United Kingdom cannot work for Ghana. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
So there are socio-economic factors that you must put into consideration. How we live our life, how we operate our transportation system, how we organize our land uses. These are factors that we need to bring in. So these are the challenges that we have. Then secondly, that when the master plans are produced, in most cases, you find them in the archives of these ministries, never implemented.
Never implement, just
And exactly. Then when it is time to review the master plan, nobody cares. So that is a big problem that we have. A master plan may be prepared for 20, 25 years. And today, even our population growth is so high that before the expiration of that master plan,
it will be increased.
I mean, the whole thing is going on. Yeah. Then the new trend today now is this development of estates, residential estates.
Yes.
That is a proliferation of residential estates across our cities and urban areas. So if you go to the east, even to the western part of this country, you see these things going on, and nobody's controlling that. So the question now is, how do we now have an industry? After 2, 3, 4 years, you are thinking that the industry is at the outskirts of the town. Then you now see residential houses, estates.
Just beside.
Not just beside. Okay, yes. After that, if you are coming from the city center. So you now find yourself having industries at the center of the city, generating, what do you call it, emitting gas and poisonous, what do you call it, gaseous and particulates. So that are injurious to human life. So these are the issues that we are having. We should have an organized city with well-mapped out land use plan. That will guide whosoever that is the planning officer for that particular area. Then when you bring your plan, you want to establish a church, or you want to establish, an industry within an area that is mapped out for residential. Would I tell you no? If you want to move an residential house or estate in an industrial area, we'll tell you no. So that is the part of the problem we are having today. Then secondly, the town planners themselves should be in the position to actually guide government on what should be done. My colleagues in the ministry, you should take up this challenge that the politicians should be properly educated, because in most cases, they don't even know the implications of all this.
Of all these things.
Yes. So I want to encourage our members who are in the position to take certain decisions, or close to people who make decisions, to enlighten them. And it's also a responsibility for any ITP, which I am part of, then, on advocacy, to keep on,
preaching the word.
With this assignment. So it's something we should always be, we should be doing. Though we have been doing that all this while, I think we need to really expand and increase the pace at which we are preaching this.
Okay, so for some weeks now, running into months, we've seen northern states, especially ravaged by flood, and we also saw that the information came that the Lagdo Dam in Cameroon will soon be released, and Nigerian states that are prone to flooding should do something about it. But it seems like the Nigerian government has little or nothing to do, and I would contribute this to improper planning, because these things are things that we should have planned ahead of time for, knowing that it will surely happen. So what exactly is the problem, and how can we solve it? Because these people that are in these flood prone areas, they are the ones suffering. We that are in the cities, we know we do not feel the impact of these things such as they.
Yeah, I agree with you to an extent. We are supposed to plan. In the essence of it, there was a plan.
Okay.
The plan was when Cameroon was building the dam, Nigeria was also supposed to do another dam.
Okay.
I think around Adamawa and what do you call it? And Taraba. I've forgotten the name of that dam that Nigeria was supposed to build. Okay. So Cameroon built theirs, but Nigeria did not build that. So that was a plan. There was an agreement between the two countries. And for the past years, it's not as if this thing is coming out every 20 years. It has become an annual event, an annual phenomenon. Year. So if you know that there was flooding in last September, and this is September, October, we are in October now,
yes,
that you are expecting another flooding, then why can't we now sit down and say, look, let's just see how we can minimize this. But, well, that is a question for the federal government to answer. So we urge the government to really do something, because if you look at the damage, how much the federal government spend every year to manage the flood victims in terms of building, operating and managing, what do you call it, IDP camps.
Yeah, building camps.
Then logistics,
provision of supplies,
and all that. So that is quite huge amount of money. But if we can channel this money into providing
our own dam,
a
lasting solution,
that will go a long way to solve this problem. Then dam will also help us to harvest the water, and even the water we are talking about. Is there no way we can harvest this water during the rainy season and use water that is harvested for agriculture during the dry season through an effective irrigation system?
Yeah.
So that all through the year you are harvesting, all through the year you are farming.
Yeah.
So the essence of river basin authorities of the old was for this, to manage the water resources and channel these resources adequately in different areas, particularly in agriculture. But the visions of the 1970s and the 1980s are rather about. And we have just jettisoned all these things. Now, coming to the urban areas and the role of town planners in this case. Yeah, a lot of people build houses along the waterways or by the, what do you call it, by the river banks. You know, we have a responsibility to curtail, to control, and if possible, stop. And for the federal government or state government, as the case may be, to relocate those communities that are
to a better area,
along the waterways. I know it's very difficult. Cultural issues might come in because people are not ready to move away from their ancestral homes.
Yeah.
But if you keep seeing this thing coming on every day, you don't need anybody to tell you that. It doesn't make any difference. Or rather, it will be better for you that you relocate and find yourself in a safer environment
than you losing properties and lives year after year.
You know. Then another way we can also manage this is that through improving our agricultural system, because a lot of farmers lost their distance. They suffer damages and losses during this period.
Yes.
So what they should do is that you cultivate crops that you can harvest early before the floods come in. You know. So by working, bringing in improved varieties of crops, we can help. That can also help us. The storage system, silos and all that, are facilities that government should provide for those localities, farmers in these areas, so that when they harvest, the things can be properly stored and they can have enough food all through the year. So through irrigation, through farming facilities, through new technologies, through relocation of settlements and replanning. Then within the urban centers, we also have this habit of blocking waterways, either through construction of houses or construction of roads. And in most cases, or some cases, we have roads that are built without drainage systems. And you see the kind of drainage system you see in this country. I don't know whether the drainages are just water storage facility or drains.
The waters do not actually move.
Yes,
They are stagnant.
So you don't know whether it's moving this direction or
the other way.
So that is another area. Then behavioral part of it is that we should develop the culture of maintaining our environment. You don't need to wait for government to come and clear your gutters.
Everybody has a role to play.
Yes. You don't need the government to come and flog you, before you stop throwing waste into the drains and gutters. So these are the things, behavioral attitude factors that we should also look at. That we can change our attitude if we can help ourselves to an extent. This problem will be minimized.
Thank you very much, Town Planner Professor Kingsley Ogboi, the second Vice President of the Nigerian Institute. It has been an interesting session with him here in the studio. All right, dear viewers, that is a wrap on today's edition of City Pulse on Housing TV Africa. You can watch this episode and other episodes on YouTube by subscribing to our YouTube channel at Housing TV Africa. You can also follow us on all social media platforms at Housing TV Africa, and you can also download the Housing TV Africa mobile app on Google Play Store and App Store to stay connected everywhere you go. Thanks for watching. I am Phoebe Onwabridge. Bye for now.